Hi everybody, welcome to season 4, episode 10 of the Hard Truth Inside the Football History podcast with me, Philip Ideson, and Darragh MacAnthony, chairman and co-owner of Peterborough United. And you're back in England, Darragh, and it's stolen you away from TalkSport again.
Yes, back in the UK, doing a bit of work, a couple of games, home games this week, and then I go to the UAE on Saturday night for a bit of business for a few days, and then back to the States. But I just have to tell the audience, Phil, that you're falling asleep here while we're recording. Obviously, your kids said you're up late last night. You look like a man you actually look like a Halloween person, you know, on Halloween.
I always tell people I'm going to go as myself. So this year I can maybe pull it off.
And to be fair, I look like a bit of a homeless person today because, again, jet lag's killed me. I cannot sleep until 4 a.m. every morning. So last night, again, it was like 10 past 4 when I finally got to sleep. And, you know, again, waking up today, I feel, So luckily I've got like a day at home to do loads of catch-up work. But Friday for TalkSport was tough because I slept 30 minutes in like 48 hours. I was absolutely wired to the moon when I actually got on a train and went into TalkSport, you know. But anyway, enough about me. When's Henry back from his... I had one fan dig me out of my comment over...
I saw that.
Paternity, is that what it's called? Paternity leave instead of... Yeah, whatever else. So, H, is he still... How long is he off for? A few weeks, is he?
He's back, so I can finally ask some listener questions this week.
Hey, good man. Yeah, so we're locked and loaded, baby, but we'll keep it short and sweet today so you don't fall asleep on us live on air.
Well, you're going to keep it entertaining for me, so we'll be good.
Absolutely.
And at least you've got some good results to talk about.
Yeah. It's been... when did we last speak?
So you had Port Vale and Blackpool since we last spoke.
Yeah, no, tremendous. You know, you obviously, you get lucky against Wycombe, get a draw at home. It's kind of a bit, lackluster. And I wasn't too down on it. I said to you, Wycombe were a decent side. And we just weren't quite at it after the break. But then Tuesday, Port Vale, tough place to go. I know they're not in great form. Good win, grind out win, 10 minutes of injury time. It's really funny. I'd love someone to do the statistic of what's the average amount of minutes injury time when Peterborough are winning by 1 goal. Yeah, on the clock. It was 9 minutes, 10 minutes on Tuesday, and it was 10 minutes on Saturday. When we're losing by a goal, I want to say it's 3-4 minutes go up on the clock. So I'd love to see the stats on that. But yeah, good win.
So you're telling me you're a bunch of time wasters then?
Well, that's obviously what. No, I don't think we are. But yeah, no. Tuesday was great. Saturday was phenomenal because a few things happened. One. We've kind of gone to play the way we wanted to play when we thought we sold Clark Harris. We sold Clark Harris because we envisioned me, the management team, everybody, we're going to play a different way this year. It's not going to be based around ball in the box, number 9, certain strengths, hold up the ball. We wanted to play differently. We wanted to play counter-attacking football. We wanted to play quick, incisive, based on pace. That was going to be key to the way we played this year. And obviously, what happened on deadline day, we'd recruited around. That's how we wanted to play. And then we're left unbelievable double golden boot winners still in the building. And it's very difficult then to say, well, you know what, we've got to park you till January till we sell you. So the managers played them in a lot of games, fair play to them, and rightly so. But obviously, I think the manager made a decision on Monday last week. Okay, we're getting close to the window. There's going to be clubs who are going to want Jono. He's a massive commodity. We have to get used to eventually playing without him. We're going to have to give this a spin to what we envisaged in the summer, playing with a fast, pacey number 9, and obviously stuck Ricky up front. I said on the podcast not so long ago, I wanted to see that kid get a run up front. I know he has a lot of doubters, a lot of moaners, but his pace, I said at the time, I think on the podcast, up front playing in that 9 position would create havoc, and it would create havoc where he'd get red cards. He'll score goals. If he gets a run in the team, he stays healthy. He is a Peterborough number 9 because he's got everything. And from a club perspective as well, there's value in having a number 9 that's 2021 is like a greyhound. You add goals to that. And, and that's where we've, the last few years, got away from that. And maybe some of our troubles have come along that we've had to sell midfielders and defenders. And we haven't quite had the number 9 like Ivan Toney that we're selling for 5-6 million. You go get the next one. Your budget's taken care of. You're not getting yourself in silly debt. We got away from that as a club. I know people like to say we always sell, but we did kind of get away from that. One striker every year or two, we move on, and then we go on and get the next one. So we signed Malik from Chelsea in the summer. He's obviously getting up to speed. I think he makes his debut tomorrow night in the EFL Trophy. He's been doing well in training. My God, what a finisher. And now we've got real competence. And we've got Jacob Wakeling, who we feel is also a striker down the middle with pace. So we feel we're getting back to that. So Tuesday and Saturday was either going to be shit or bust with the fans, because you know they were going to moan if we didn't do well. Well, you've left John out. Oh, my God, why is he not on the team? Why is the GOAT not in there? And look, fair play to John. The best thing I can say about him is he was brilliant with the manager during the week when he got told he wasn't playing. He's brilliant when he's come off the bench. He's a professional. But he knows he's going to get a good move in January. He knows he's going to get good money. He's going to be on a good contract, you know what I mean, when he leaves us. So we have to look past that. We have to look to the future. And Ricky's done brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He's run the lines. He's caused havoc. He scored a great goal on Saturday. Saturday was a massive one because I wound the gaffer up on Tuesday night. I actually said to him, look, there's no point in you taking the game. You should let Scarfy take the game because, you know, the Blackpool manager's got your number from previous game. So he was like, what? So when I went down on Thursday and I saw him and the staff, I was like, listen, your nemesis, have you figured out how to beat him yet? Because every time I've seen you play against his teams, you know, last time we were in League One, they did the double over us. So I was just like sticking it in, you know. We also lost Archie Collins to a suspension and concussion. So you're thinking, shit, now you're going to one of the best, and they are one of the best teams in League One. They've got an unbelievable record there. You know, I forget about the fact they scored late goals and we were under pressure and we were 3-0 up against 10 men and all that shit. Forget that. Look at the result itself. Not many teams are going to go to Blackpool. A, play them off the pitch like we did for an hour. B, score 4 goals. And C, walk out with 3 points. It's not going to happen a lot of the season. That's how good they are. They're going to be up there. They're a really good team. And we went and we put in. I loved it. I love the performance. I love the first half. We missed the penalty. You know, things kind of, you thought the commentators' curses, you know, oh, this will come back to bite you and but we were very good. And I want to say the age of our team on Tuesday and Saturday was 22.3 years old, Phil. Well, that's how young we were. And again, nobody's going to give us that credit. No one's going to write about it. Everyone, listen, you go on The Athletic and it's basically a Wrexham jizz fest every day, you know what I mean, from the lower leagues. It's not even stuff about teams like Bradford, you know. But the things we're doing, after what happened against Sheffield Wednesday and the hangover most clubs would have had, I feel what we've done, reloading, retooling, you know, going back over our philosophy, changing lots of things. And there's a long way to go, and it's early days. And I've been saying this for weeks, that it's going to be good, it's going to be bad, it's going to be good, it's going to be bad. But eventually, two things are going to happen. This young team's going to learn how to win tough games. Tuesday night, 10 minutes injury time away at Port Vale, tick, tick, tick. Eventually, they're going to score a lot of goals against the team, and a good team. Saturday, 4 goals, missed a penalty, could have had 7 or 8, tick again. And eventually they're going to go on a winning run and they're going to bash a lot of teams. But they will still have inconsistency because they are still a young team. But we, as a club, everything we wanted, we're slowly ticking the boxes. Not interested about league tables and where you are and what, but what I'm interested in is the football good? Is the philosophy look like it's working? Is the recruitment being good? Are squad players coming in when needed? Well, over the last month, we lost our right back. We had to play through suspension. We won the game. We lost Hector, I think. We won the game. We lost Archie the other night. We won the game. These are key first-team players we've lost, and it hasn't affected the results. That's always an example of how good's your squad. And special credit to the Man City boy who came in, played central midfield, and fuck me, he looked like he played central midfield his whole career. He was, but credit to the manager where he used them as central midfield, third centre back, catching space, finding Burrows coming in, you know, just very clever. If you watch what he did tactically Saturday, it just worked to a T because the instructions were taken on and executed. So no, it was the 2 games were very good. There's going to be, you know, there's a lot of games to go. There's a lot of games coming up. You want to stay healthy. You want your best players on the pitch. You know, we've had a few suspensions, and you know, we've always said it's going to take a little while for everyone to buy into what we're trying to do. And the best thing I can say about our fans is a lot of fans went on Tuesday and Saturday. I can see on social media, even the doubters who were moaning about the experience, moaning about what we were doing in the summer, they're starting to enjoy it. They're starting to turn. And all I want off them is, if our young players make a mistake, applaud them and encourage them to keep going and doing the same thing. Instead of going, kick the ball long, do this. I want them to do what we've been doing. You know, and that's kind of key to the message. Even if we're losing, stick to the principles, stick to what we're doing, because overall, look at the results. Yes, you're going to have blips, but overall, it works. And that's fundamentally key to what we're doing, is just like back in that philosophy, back in the principle, and letting it play out instead of baby out with the bathwater. Now we're going back to this. Now we're going to do this. Oh, now we need to sign 2 experienced players. No, this is what we wanted to do from here on in for the next few years. We knew as a club we had a lot of things happening off the pitch. I have a lot of things I'm sorting out, and this was the way we had to go as a club. Didn't mean we were going to be competitive. Didn't mean we don't want to win promotions. Doesn't mean we don't want to score loads of goals and entertain. We just have to do things from a different angle and a different perspective. A big part of that also was what we've been doing before hasn't always worked when we got to the championship. So can we look at doing something differently that ties in with all the things on the field and with one eye on the league above should all goes our way this year, next year, and we win a promotion again. So yeah, all those fundamentals really good. And I was laughing after the games. I was listening to the manager's interview and he was fucking raging. He was talking about the 3-0 and whatever. I was nearly going to text him, I thought you were a bit harsh, but I'm like, no, leave it alone. You know, but the players understand. They're all together. Really happy for young Ricky. There's just great competition for places in the team, and it's a good place to be. And yeah, long may it continue. And we've got a couple of big games coming up. And what else was going on? I also met with the new academy manager, director. He's fantastic. Really excited about him, Dan. He understands, again, philosophy. He can't believe how close our academy to the first team is. As we've got to talking every day, same message, same principles. You know, that the manager wants to know and be involved in meetings. He's never seen that at previous clubs. That's always what's been missing with academies. So he's just loving, obviously, coming into work every day. Yeah, really, really positive. And long may it continue, Philip.
Yeah, I mean, away, we've talked for years about away being the Achilles heel. So 2 wins away from home is a big thing. And I know you, as you mentioned, you don't look at the tables. What I did as you were talking. And I'm not going to talk about league positions or anything, just that 28 points on the board in 15 games is a good return from bouncing back from what you've done and the philosophy that you've put in place. And so you must be happy with your points return.
Yeah, look, the points is great. And I think if you look at it, I think we've dropped 14 points from winning positions, Phil. So take half of those.
What could have been.
Yeah, exactly. But that's okay. Because like I know people, I saw it out there, the nervousness when Port Vale, the 10 minutes went up, and Blackpool, the 10 minutes went up, because everyone's going, oh, we do this and we choke and we give away late goals and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, of course, because we're going to make mistakes and honest mistakes, and we're not perfect, but what we'll do is learn. And as long as we keep learning, if we have 10 games and we win 9 out of 10 by basically holding out and keeping clean sheets and seeing out injury time, and we lose 1 game in the 97th minute, I don't care, because it's the overall game. And everyone's got to stop getting hung up on the mistakes or the issues. We've also been unlucky. So it's not always the team's fault. You know, the Carlisle equaliser is like 99 times out of 100, the deflection doesn't go in. It just, it happens sometimes in football. So, you know, we as fans just like, oh, here we go again. We have to just try and kilo and calm down about
it. Now, tactically, do you, when you are, you know, you 1-up, you've got 15 minutes left to play, are you trying to shut up shop, or are you going for the second?
Go for it. The one thing we have is frightening pace, Phil. Our front 3 or front 4, frightening pace. The manager hears it every week off opposing managers. My God, the pace in your front line. Like, we have pace. Like, when we're 1-up and somebody's trying to get a goal, often that means we're 2-on-1 or we're 3-on-2, you know, at the back. So we have to learn to be more ruthless, and we will. We'll score a lot more goals. We're not doing it well enough at the moment. Like against Port Vale, we should have scored 3 goals. We didn't. So it's just learning to be ruthless. So there's a lot more in it, but I'm all for fuck closing up. I want more goals. Like, I love the 4-2 scoreline on Saturday. The manager said, first thing he said to us, I bet you love that scoreline. I'm like, fucking love it. Forget the 1-0 on Tuesday. The 4-2 is what it's all about. Goals.
Yeah, you want to see some goals.
Excitement, value, and players going up through goals. That's what it's all about. So, no, that for me was more important than anything else. You know, and yeah, winning away from home was great. You know, you want to be solid at home and you want to have a good away record. But since the Gaffers come back, I think we got one of the best away records in the division since, you know, last January. You know, he's won a lot of away games. But no, just chuckling along nicely, letting everyone else get the plaudits, you know, and then obviously when the time is right, we, you know, go in, and that's what you got to do. So yeah, long may it continue. We got, I think, 2 cup games this week. EFL Trophy tomorrow, Spurs. I think we're changing pretty much the whole team. Then Salford on Saturday. We could do some cup wins, a few quid in the kitty from that. And then again, like away, Wigan away, you know, I think we've had our 3 away games, or Port Vale, Blackpool and Wigan. I think when you look at this side of Christmas, we've played Portsmouth away, We've played Blackpool away. We've played Barnsley away. We've played Bolton away. We've played like 4 of the top 7, probably the best teams in the league, away from home already. So that sometimes is a positive, as much as the fixtures were a bit like when you looked at
get them out of the way.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot.
And you got some points from them.
And we played Reading away. So
yes,
I know Reading aren't the factor at the moment. They're still a big team in our league. So we've played a lot of toughies away. So yeah, you get your points, you know, and then you hope to do the business at home in the second half of the season. So no, it's fascinating, really. So enough about Peterborough. Let's talk about your mighty Bantams.
Yeah, do we have to?
What happened on Tuesday and what happened on Saturday? Give me the juice.
Yeah, so talking about goals, we probably should have lost 10-1 against MK Dons, never mind 4-1. It's you know, one of the most one-sided games that I've ever seen with I mean, they wiped the floor with us, and we were awful. And MK Dons were very good. It was Mike Williamson's first game in charge. So, you know, either he got them sorted pretty quickly or first manager bounce and, you know, trying to impress.
Barry rang me 2 weeks ago to say that he'd spoke to Pete and Pete was gone after. Well, I'd heard already through my non-league scouts that the stuff Williamson was doing at Gateshead on no budget was ridiculous. And he was playing the football he was playing. So it was only a matter of time before somebody snapped them up. Bradford should have snapped them up.
We didn't even talk to him, apparently.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like ridiculous, you know. And to be fair, MK Dons have certain managers. They're like the Oxford manager, previous manager Liam Sweeney, Russell Martin, and now this guy. So they obviously have a certain way. But no, my scout was there on Saturday watching a couple of things, and he just said, "Yeah, football was just sorry. Carry on. It was superb."
Yeah, I mean they were like that against us, and we were bad, and they were, you know, fantastic, and they hadn't won in 9 before then. So that was pretty sobering. And then if that wasn't sobering enough, we then went to Sutton on Saturday, who had won 2 in 26, I think it was, before the game, and easy 2-1 win for them against us again. Didn't show up. I think at halftime we had 65% possession and we had 0 shots on target, maybe 1. That's how bad it was. You know, it was passing around backwards, and they scored after 4 minutes, and it never really. I mean, we equalized. We had a spell of 10-15 minutes, but it was pretty poor stuff. So
the caretaker is over.
Yeah, and I mean, you feel for him because he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't, you know, he's made it clear he doesn't really want to be a manager yet. I think that there's probably, and I'm interested in your perspective on this, I would imagine that as a player who wants to go back to being a player, there's only so much you can say to your players who will be your peers again soon, to basically try and, you know, you can't be too aggressive with them because you got to be the peer again in a week.
It's an impossible situation because he's dropping players, picking players. I'm sure he's at the bollocks and players. He's suddenly the gaffer. Unless he's at that age where you definitely think he's going to be a coach manager in the next 6 months, it's an impossible situation to put someone in. Would I put them in it? Like, I give an example of last year, the gaffer hadn't taken a job and it was a few weeks. I might have turned around and told, you know, if I didn't have a 21s coach available, or I didn't think anyone was competent enough to step up, it definitely wouldn't have been the previous, you know, staff because they'd all gone. You know, I would have probably said to Dale Tong, take the team, you know, and Swanee, don't be making headlines off this, given my manager like heart failure. But if Dale had left, and if I had to go to a player, I probably would have gone to an Nathan Thompson. I probably would have said to an Nathan Thompson because he's a kind of an elder statesman. He's respected. He's liked. He's, you know, there's no airs and graces about him. He won't give you any bollocks. You know, he's a straight, direct shooter. So I would have said to him, look, Nathan, buy me 10 days, take 2 games, take the sessions. Yeah. You know, there's a couple of under 18 coaches going to work with you. You've got the lads' ears. They all respect you. But it'll be now, knowing Nathan, he would have been concerned probably about, well, I've got to then go back in the team afterwards. So he would have said to me, please, only a game, 2 games, you know, example. So it's a horrible situation. Have they done interviews? Have you spoke to Ryan? Has anyone spoke to Ryan? Is there anyone coming in the door?
So I haven't spoken to Ryan. I know they've done interviews. I mean, and it's funny that new manager, the caretaker manager bounce, 3 or 4 games. And that was probably the limit. You know, you could take it like you said, because it was almost like it was the team spirit, camaraderie. Let's kind of play the way we want to play, not the way we were asked to play before. But you saw the gaps, but the hunger kind of got them through it.
Yeah.
And that has now dropped off, where tactically, we're probably not where we need to be, and we still have a lot of wrong players in the wrong positions and some injuries as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's not fair on him, on the caretaker.
No.
It's been, how long has it been? 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. So what would cause you to wait that long to bring somebody in?
Well, unless you're negotiating and it's tougher than you thought.
Yeah.
If that's tough, then they don't really maybe want the job or deserve the job. Secondly, maybe you're out of ideas. Thirdly, maybe you can't afford the target you want. Fourthly, maybe you're thinking, oh, fuck, I can just get through this with a caretaker. So I don't know. And it would be remiss of me to criticize anybody involved, because they're not here to defend themselves. But, a club the size of Bradford should be going after the best in class for League Two. And obviously the Gateshead manager was one of them. And I could name other candidates. What about the guy I like, 𝗵𝗿𝗃 𝗧𝗿𝗂𝘁𝗵? Is he at Barrow?
Yeah, he's at Barrow now. He was very close last time when Hughes got the job.
With other clubs, because I'm encouraging somebody to, they'd have to go through the front door and pay a fee. But is he somebody you'd look at Bradford?
Yeah, it's funny. I think that when Mark Hughes came up, let's say the last time the manager job came up, it was thought that, has he spent too long? He's been in the the National League, with Halifax Town. He did a good job there, but maybe, he's not the name for a big club. And I use, air quotes for that, like us. I think now I think that's lessened in terms of how the fan base would respond to it. So I think the fan base would take him. And he's continued to do well at Barrow since he left Halifax.
Right. Or do you go down the route, like I'd said it previously about, do you look at Premier League 2, under 23 Academy League, who's top and who the managers are, and go after some of those candidates? I'd mentioned a couple previously. Do you go down that route? Where they're going to have, contacts for youngsters. They're going to play a certain style of football. I don't know. It's a tough one. I mean, you're at a stage in the season where, what's your aim for the rest of the season? I mean, we're not far of the way in. What's Bradford's aim this season?
Yeah, and the aim has to be promotion. Why get rid of him when we did if that wasn't the aim?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that, no matter how bad I've talked about it being on occasions, I don't think we're looking behind us. We're looking ahead of us. So promotion's got to be the aim. But now I think there was the momentum, and we talked a little bit about ride the momentum. Well, the momentum's gone now. So they just need to do something ASAP.
Who are the names in the frame? Give me the top 3 names that are kind of being talked about.
Who have I seen? I've seen Dean Holden come up quite a lot over the last few days. Ex-Bristol City, ex-Charlton.
That's great jobs. So tell you what an agent he's got.
Yeah, and who else have we seen? We've seen rumours about the Cowley brothers, but I don't know if they've been interviewed or not, whether that's just rumour. They were at Wycombe, I think, at the weekend, but we play Wycombe in the Cup, but then I think Lincoln play Wycombe in a week or two as well, so people reading into that. And that's what's interesting, is we haven't really seen many other names being banded around. The only thing is whoever we appoint isn't going to be good enough in terms of the Twitterati.
Right.
You've seen that already.
Yeah, listen, I got buried a year ago when I brought Darragh back. Sky were laughing. BBC Cambridgeshire were doing night shows where the Supporters Trust chairman was on, and everybody was just having a dig. Yes, your fan base are important, but what you see in social media isn't a really fair reflection of your fan base. I've learned that very heavily over the last few years, and we had supporters, trust presidents, chairman on BBC shows. We had Sky laughing about it. We had everything else, and is the person you want to bring in good? Can they do the job? Can they get on board with what you want to do as a club? Do you have trust in them, believe in them? People can laugh all the time. I've heard Darren 4 times or whatever it is. But now, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with hiring a great manager. Bradford would be tremendously lucky to have a manager like my fucking manager. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So at the end of the day, and I've always said, be very lucky to have a Steve Evans, who see what he's done, obviously. And again, I'm almost like his agent, you know what I mean? Like banging the drum. But there are good managers. I've said it before, Paul Cook at Chesterfield. The Barnet manager's doing tremendous. There are some managers lower down the pyramid absolutely doing great things, or you go down. So I guess the question is, are you going down the young route? Are you going down the Premier League Academy route? Are you going for the old tried and tested? Are you going for somebody who's had a few jobs and not really done anything? Are you going down the non-league route? At least you can say about MK Dons, Pete Winkelman's
Yeah.
a chance, and he's gone after the philosophy manager. Fair play to him. So I guess Bradford's problem is Ryan or the owner need to come out and say what they want to do. They need to come out and say, this is our next manager, and this is what we want to do. And by the way, we've got nothing in January we can do. The manager's on board with that, and we've got to get on with it. Or we're going to bring in 4 or 5 players in January. So you got to come out now and quiet the dissent and just tell. I've always said, just tell people, good or bad, tell people. Communication is really important. Just have conversations with your supporters. Yes, some of them are going to call you names and have a go at you and but just be clear and honest. And even the DMAC out crowd, they can never say that I'm not as transparent, as honest as I can be, where I'll just tell you, you won't like my opinion, but I have to just give them. That's just what it is.
Yeah, and there's definitely been a vacuum of, for communications, and, the owner has not said anything for a long time. Ryan's been fairly quiet, getting on with doing what he needs to do to try and get somebody in place. I think part of the challenge is the business model. The business model is, as we've talked about a lot of times, it's reliant upon self-funded and selling a lot of season tickets, which are cheap. And so because they're cheap, you need to sell a lot of them. And so you need to get the public, the fan base, excited about buying their new season tickets, which means, you're probably overhyping what your potential is. And you're also, when you're looking at new managers, you look at it and think the risk is greater if you're going to do a 3-year project, that you're going to lose fans, next year, and lose season ticket holders, and therefore you're not going to have the money to put into the team to actually be able to build up the team. And it's a vicious circle, as opposed to, let's get somebody, we can hype it all up again. We'll get the season ticket sales, and then we can hang on for another year of this self-funded model. But it's all very kind of short term, and that's not Ryan's fault. That's just, that's the owner and where the owner wants to be.
Yeah,
and so you're kind of stuck.
I've seen he's got criticism and whatever else, but if people want him to come out and speak, he does have a boss. He can't just blab, because at the end of the day, the guy's got a job, and he's got to be careful what he says. So you work for one person, and the last thing he needs is to come out and say something that goes against that one person. He's going to be out of a job, and there ain't a lot of CEO jobs in football, so it's really a thankless task, and he's in a tough spot, because I've seen some of the fans really having to go at him. He doesn't pay the bills. He uses what he's given to try and bring in what he can, and so forth. But who knows? I mean, I've said this for a long time. After the whole Wrexham and Hollywood stuff, I don't know why they don't put it up for sale, but you get some, you probably get Will Farrell or somebody you think they can replicate it and come in and buy Bradford. Yeah. And you've seen so many sports people get involved. It really is that it's such an attractive proposition, on paper, because of the potential in that growth, so it's now or never. If you're going to sell a club, it's really funny. Andy Holt messaged me for the first time in a long time earlier on today, and I was wishing well, and just said, look, if there's ever a time to sell your club, it's probably now. The whole romance and story and all of that, with Wood, and now's the time to do it.
Well, there was a few of those Hollywood A-listers, I think, in the crowd for the Wrexham game, so maybe they'll be impressed with a 22,000 blood and thunder cup tie atmosphere, enough to go and put their hands in their pockets, or go back to some rich friends at home and make the pitch.
But come out, maybe people don't know it's for sale. Come out and tell people. Come out and put it up for sale. Do you know what I mean? That kind
of is that because we talk about everything's for sale all the time.
Of course,
it just depends. If somebody comes and offers you the money,
of course,
that you might want, is there a way to formally circulate the fact that your football club is for sale?
Yeah, of course. You put a statement out and just say, look, I've enjoyed it. The club's in a great position financially. It's a sleeping giant, and we're going to put it officially up for sale. And I've given the mandate to a couple of companies to sell the club. But for the moment, I'll pay the bills until the right offer comes in, and I have a figure. If I don't get the figure, I won't sell. This isn't a sale that needs to happen. It's a sale I'd like to happen. So that's how you do it formally. And then newspapers pick that up. It gets written about. It gets spread. It goes on the web. Everyone talks about it in America. And Bosh, there you are. That's how you sell a club.
Well, it's also been sacking season around the league, so maybe we're just waiting for the right manager to get sacked in their current job. Where there's Nigel Pearson gone, Gareth Ainsworth gone, Joey Barton gone, Paul Hurst gone. That's just in the last week.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's your long list of candidates for a great Friday.
No.
It's like, yeah.
Well, I don't feel for anybody necessarily, but Gareth Ainsworth did such a job at Wycombe and took this. You can understand why he went to QPR, being his club, but he was jumping into a bit of a hornet's nest, I think, and that one seems to have.
It was, but I think he did a shite job at QPR.
Yeah,
maybe that sounds harsh, but I don't think he did a very good job. But good luck to him. He's obviously very proven at Wycombe. And he'll want another opportunity, and I'm sure he will get another opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there were circumstances at QPR, of course, there were circumstances, but to have a record that bad, you have to take some responsibility, right? It's you look at the squad at QPR, and you're like, okay, I don't know what was the percentage of games he lost. It would have been very high. So he probably thought he didn't do his best work, no matter what the circumstances were. So, would you like him at Bradford?
I wouldn't be opposed to him, but I don't know too much
leather coat and the cowboy boots and whatever else you want.
You think that'll go down well to a working class Bradford public?
Well, I don't know. That's if that's for you. I mean, like I said, he's proven at Wycombe.
I know.
It's a certain kind of football.
I wouldn't be opposed to him, but that's because there's nobody that particularly inspires me at the moment. And we were talking about this before we went live. I was going back to Phil Parkinson days when Phil Parkinson was appointed, and everybody was just against that. What a poor appointment, and it's not going to work, and blah blah blah. You were just talking about the response when you hired Darragh back. There's no clear-cut candidates, and you're either going to get lucky with somebody, or there's going to be somebody that there's something there in them that allowed them the opportunity to shine when they're with you that they hadn't done elsewhere. Like, how do you find that? Or just sometimes you just have to, I hate to use the word hope, because hope's not a strategy, but do you sometimes just have to hope that it's going to work out?
Well, I'd imagine there's a lot of agents and CVs going into Ryan every day. I'm sure they've had 200 applications. There's, like I said, there's the tried and tested. Ian Holloway's out of work. There's a lot of people out there who are accomplished people, accomplished in the profession. Maybe you haven't had such a great go of it recently, but it doesn't mean they can't go again. So, I don't know. You sit down with a piece of paper. I did it last year at the end of last season, and I was like, what do I want? I'm designing a list. I'm getting Barry to make phone calls to Premier League about academy coaches, and I'm doing a bit of research. I'm trying to find out release fees from another manager I quite liked who was doing well in non-league. And, can we afford that? Can we do that? This is when I thought Darragh wasn't going to stay. So you go through that process, and then you have to start meeting people. You have to start getting are they for me? That kind of thing. So I don't know. It's really, really tough, who knows? I mean, but I do know this. You're on the clock. You need a new manager, and you need a new manager yesterday. So, who are you playing next? What's the next couple of weeks look like?
Yeah, we have Man City under 21s tomorrow, and then Wycombe at home in the FA Cup on Saturday, and then Barrow at home thereafter.
Okay, so a couple of good home games. I mean, ideally that's where you should have had a new manager in before something. Because if you looked at that run of fixtures, you'd be like, what a dream 4 or 5 fixtures for a new manager. A new manager could come in and win 4 or 5 of those games on the spin. They're not exactly massively difficult games, are they, on paper?
Right.
So you're like, okay.
No, I mean, we looked at MK Dons away and Sutton away, and you thought 2 teams badly out of form.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity.
100%. But it's like, what were you waiting for? Sometimes timing's everything. Have you got 2 weeks on an international break to hire a new manager? Great, you got some time. What's the run of fixtures coming up? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to leave the current staff in for those 2 games. So we don't think we're going to win them. And then we'll let the new manager come in and hit the floor running. So, that's kind of key. But, something needs to happen, and something needs to happen quickly, without a doubt.
Well, now that we've talked about it for the last 15 minutes, for sure that we'll have hired somebody before the podcast goes out.
Great.
Today or tomorrow is going to be the day.
There we go. Well, let's move on. Next subject. Enough about Peterborough, enough about Bradford.
Yeah, let's have a look. Comments about VAR. Vincent Kompany called VAR like going to the casino. Does that reflect what you've been seeing there of late?
It seems to have got worse than better.
Yeah.
And after a few years of it now, they really should have perfected it. So some of the things going on don't make any sense. But I don't blame VAR. I blame the people behind it. It seems to be a lot of human error. I've spoken about this recently. I don't know how they're going to solve it, fix it. They need to study all the other leagues. They need to study what they're doing better. It doesn't seem to be such a controversial thing in other leagues around the world, but it seems to be bigger kind of in the UK. So, and I get it. When you're down there, you're getting kicked in the nuts. Gary O'Neill was the same, for his Wolves side. And, he was kicked in the nuts. You just saw the penalty against Newcastle, which was never a penalty. And that was the whole idea of bringing VAR in, so you could reverse silly decisions like that. And then you're seeing some of the things that happen, and it's like, but what are you doing? So now again, it's human error. So you may as well not have the VAR, because those refs would make the same mistake. So it's a really, really tough one. You know what I mean? But I'm a fan of VAR. I'm a fan of technology. So I just want to see it get better. I don't want to see it gone.
No, and with the quality, you can't comment on that. As you mentioned on your TalkSport show the other day about quality of referees, but the quality of referees is not getting any better, at least for us in League Two. So the sooner that technology can become, more omnipresent, I think the better.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't go good or bad on refs, but at the end of the day, I know they have a tough, thankless task at times, but sometimes you scratch your head, and you're kind of like, and you don't want to get in trouble. Because like I said, I don't want to give any fine money away, to anyone else.
No.
They'll come for me if I say anything.
Well, we look at, again, going back to the Wrexham game, 22,000. Should the referee have a game in front of 22,000 that's bigger than, there's more people there than 2 Premier League games that weekend, be somebody who's used to refereeing in 2,000, 3,000 games every week? And you just wonder, should there be more experienced referees who are used to refereeing in that environment? I mean, I know you're never going to get the League Two refs the experience if they don't experience games like that.
That would be my point. How do they? I guess in the playoffs, they bring in refs from higher up in the playoffs, right? So it's really, really tough. That when do you break the back of it for these League Two refs to get a chance? In saying that, we had an experienced ref against Sheffield Wednesday, and he's missed the red card in injury time. In extra time. When we're 1 up in extra time, and he sends the player off, we get to the final. So and that was, I think, a really experienced, good referee. So it's like everything else. Again, that's why I'd love VAR, because VAR would have pretty much solved that issue at the time. But I don't know. It's a really, really tough one, and I don't think it's the biggest problem with the game. I just think it's another talking point for everybody. I think it can be fixed. I get where Company's coming from. He's not having a good time. It's always when you're at your shittiest that you get kicked in the bollocks the most. It's just the way life goes, as we all know. But equally, he's not done a great job this season, has he?
No. So I want to touch on one other thing. Then we got some questions and some comments that I can go into today. So reports of 700 fans at Saudi Arabia, at games in Saudi Arabia. I think Stevie Gerrard's team had that many. Does anyone care, do you think, in Saudi? Is this just the start of building up something bigger, or this is made for TV, so it doesn't matter how many bums and seats there are?
Look, the press are only going to report the shit, I guess. So, I did the press in the same article put in what the best crowds in Saudi are?
Right.
I don't know. So for me to give a comment and say, whatever, I don't know. Are some clubs averaging 20,000, 25? I mean, because I guess it's almost like in League Two. You could find a Bradford with 21,000. You can find a club with 1,800 people. And it is at the start. It must be real sobering for those players, the Jordan Hendersons of the world, playing in front of 700 people. It must be like COVID again, So, but yeah, I mean, this is early days for Saudi. I don't imagine they're going to lose too much sleep about that.
Yeah, and I just did a quick Google. The top crowd this weekend was 14,000. The average was about 7,000 across all games.
Great. So maybe the article that wrote about the 700 would be great if they could give you all sides of the angle instead of a one-slanted thing.
All right, so let's go to some comments and some questions. So this one you've covered a little bit when you were talking earlier, but I want to just ask it from Tom. Tom is a Posh fan from Kildare in Ireland. He says, "Well, Chairman, on the performances so far this season, let's dream for a moment and say we get promoted. What would be your thoughts on the Championship team in terms of approach and lessons from last time around?"
Not going to tell you.
All right.
Me and the gaffer know, look, we don't have the money, so we have to go about things differently. But it will be very different to last time. It has to be. It's like otherwise I'm breaking my own rules. Like never make the same mistake twice, 3 times, 4 times. So, but let's get there and let's dream big. Then when we get there, but right now we're just enjoying what we're doing in what is a tough league.
So I have a direct message on Twitter from M Strong. He says, with the recent rumours of replays and our 2 legs being removed from both cup competitions, what are your views about it, and do you feel like you'd be compensated accordingly?
Hope so. I hope it means we get more money. Understand why the big clubs want it. The amount of football now, the amount of games, the amount of teams getting into Europe now, where you've got teams the 6th and 7th getting in. I appreciate where they're coming from, but those cups give us clubs the chance, like they did Bradford years ago. When they got promoted and got to League Cup semis, finals. It gives us the chance. We earned what, 600 grand against Man City. Those kind of paydays help a hell of a lot. To lose that opportunity, of say we drew Man United at our place and we got a replay to go to Old Trafford and win £1 million. That's colossal. So we have to be careful here, because cup money is just it's lifeblood for some clubs. The things that can happen.
Now, I don't think the Premier League teams would ever vote for this, but how about some kind of seeding system where, at least until a certain round, the lower league club is always at home?
I love that. I love it. I think you're absolutely right. I think a few things need to happen. If you're going to take replays out and all of that, whatever, more lower clubs on TV instead of Premier League clubs playing each other. Mm-hmm. One rule. Home club, absolutely, but then you take away the chance of getting the big boy away from home.
Yeah, you can't go to Old Trafford and you get your 60,000 and.
Or the lower league clubs get all the gate revenue.
Yeah.
Yes, you take the cost out, pay for stewards, pay for security, pay for putting the match on. But the lower league club gets all the money. So if we get Man City away and it's a 800 grand game, usually 10% goes towards the kiddie, and then you got 90% split amongst the clubs net of what it costs to put the game on. Well, give all that money to the lower league team. That's another way of doing it.
Yeah, because these big teams don't need the money for sure.
No, they don't.
And like you said, it's the lifeblood for. It's the difference between breaking even or losing a ton of money. For example, one of those games.
Absolutely,
we had
easy fix.
That cup run paid for us for the next 3 years when we got to the League Cup final.
Absolutely, and I've never had, bar that Man City or Chelsea, we got like 380 grand. We've never had a 7-figure payday in the cup.
Yeah.
So it would be tremendous and it would be lovely and it would be a godsend. But to have that potential taken away by rule changing. Again, we're all whores. We all have a price. So if you want us to be totally for it, make it really interesting for us.
Yep. So a comment from James. James is a Posh fan. Had a suggestion for your TalkSport show. He says a chairman dream team 11. So interview chairman past and present to detail their best 1 through 11 that they've had under contract during the time of their tenure, and a manager to drill the troops.
That's not bad, to be fair. That's not bad. It was great. TalkSport was fun last Friday, and I'm going in again this Friday. And I didn't realize, Jim obviously loves winding Simon up, whatever, and Simon messaged me on my way into the show. But Jim was telling me that when I was on in the summer, it was a record for the ratings. So that gave my ego a little bit of a pep in my step. I was like happy to help, and I rang my agent right afterwards and said, "Listen, you need to renegotiate my fee. It needs to be higher. If we're breaking records, we need to be earning. We need to be earning some of the moolah. You know what I mean? So it's like, really, really important. Anywho,
I'm not sure there's a lot of money in talk radio.
Well, you'd be surprised. You'd be shocked. You'd be very, very surprised. It depends, I guess, who's on it. But they get, I think, 1.6 million listeners. Which is a decent figure. Yes. It's not like America syndicated figures in America. If I was on in America and you're on Sirius, you'd be getting 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 million. But you got to remember that, at the end of the day, if your audience is big enough, the payday is big enough. Because it's all about advertising. They got betting companies probably paying them 7 figures and stuff, So They got a great setup, but most importantly, the team's great fun. The producers, the people behind the scenes are really good. And I met Martin Cowan for the first time, and I love winding the fuck up out of him.
I listened to it. I was actually, the good thing about it being on YouTube is when I was going for my run here in the morning, I was
you could hear it. You could hear it.
Yeah, you were giving him some stick.
Well, yeah, because I think they said to me that was the most vocal he'd ever been. I took him out of his shell. I think he was sat in a room with somebody he's not fucking used to. So I was kind of like, I knew he'd try and come at me, so I kind of preempted that and kind of, come on, Martin, that was so fucking boring. So it was a bit of crack, but I enjoyed it. He was a really, really nice guy. And Jim's Jim. I'm sat there and you have this computer screen and it shows you all the comments from social media, phone-ins, text-ins, everything. And I swear to you, it was like green and red. Green's positive, red's like negative.
Okay.
It was all green bar one comment, one Posh fan. And Jim White picked on one Posh fan. It was like, and then as he's like that to me, in the background, the camera's off. I'm like, okay, fine. But that's cool. At the end of the day, is what it is. You're always going to get one person who comes at you.
There were a few garden paths I could hear him trying to walk you down. And I'm thinking, Liz is going to be telling you to be quiet right now.
Absolutely. They love it. They love trying to get me in trouble. They will come up with controversial stuff and try and get me to go bang, walk right into it, and just create because that's what it's all about. I can only imagine what they're putting together for this Friday before as my last show. It'll be again like, as long as they don't bring on who, but yeah, I imagine it'll be quite funny,
So there you go. That's the producer just heard that and is making the calls right now.
So anyhow.
So let's see. John says, love the podcast. Great news about the potential TalkSport show. He said, AFC Telford United really struggling. I believe it could be a great place to begin the polishing process for some of your gems. He says, I'm not a Telford fan, just seen as a big club for the level they're at right now. Also, Hensford in the Midlands, great infrastructure or decent infrastructure, could be higher up with the right leadership. How do you kind of survey the landscape when you're looking at clubs to send your gems to just get a little bit of, that first team football really for the first time in their careers when they're young?
Geography is important sometimes. We sent a couple to Peterborough Sports because they're only like right around the corner. Because you got sometimes these kids are 17, 16, they've never been out before. Another one was Spalding, they're not too far away. They're owned by some great people. It's one of them things. I guess if the player's 19, 20 and the 21s, you can send them a bit further afield. We sent Charlie to Woking, Charlie O'Connell. I didn't realise that about Telford. That's interesting. I love hearing stuff like that from football fans. Anyone, because also I know people as well who might want to invest or do stuff in football. So anytime anyone out there, knows something other people don't know about a particular gem, a player, a club, send any information to the old Hard Truth email address, because I think it's good, because you never know. But who knew? Telford. Where is Telford?
Just south of Birmingham, I think.
Okay.
People are going to come back and tell me how wrong I am with that. So furiously, going into Google Maps now to have just north. So basically Shrewsbury.
Okay, fair enough.
Kind of that Shrewsbury, Wolverhampton, Stafford kind of triangle just outside of Birmingham.
There you go. Who knew?
Yeah. All right. So Justin Bentley, a Lincolnshire-based Posh fan, says, really enjoyed the second half display against our rivals from up the A15. So this is probably a couple of weeks ago. Next day, I went to Tottenham to see the NFL game featuring the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Great day and a very different fan experience to a British football match. So his question is, what, if anything, would you bring in from the NFL to improve English football on or off the pitch?
The draft. I always said, didn't I? The draft process. Love that, for the 21, the academy players in the Premier League. I like the way they do replays. I quite, find that interesting. The flags from the coaches where they can challenge things. What else? There's lots of things I don't like. The fact there's a TV break every 3 minutes.
Right.
In a game that's 60 minutes long, takes 4 hours. I like all the cheerleading thing. I like all the stuff around it. The halftime show, the entertainment. It's good. It's like something different.
The American sports do that really well, and some, you feel all the entertainment side of things. Before the match at halftime.
Absolutely, tailgating is great fun. Like the tailgating is unbelievable. The college games, I have friends who go to
they're all starting at 8 a.m. in the morning for a 4
My
p.m.
friend
game.
is a Buckeye, like Ohio State Buckeyes, and he's out there at 7 when the game starts at like 1, 2, 3 o'clock. I'm like, what the fuck? 8 hours in a car park.
Sometimes they don't even go to the game. They bring their 70-inch giant TVs.
Correct.
Giants, plug them into the car.
Tribalism, we talk about football like it's in the blood and it's like whatever else. College football, probably more than the NFL. College football is like, it's up there. It's on a par. You see the crowds in these games, they're like 90 to 100,000 for college fucking games. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've been brought up in the States as an adopted Michigander. So you see the University of Michigan.
That's the Buckeyes' fucking biggest enemy.
Yeah,
aren't they cheating at the moment? Aren't they? They got like cheating accusations going on with Harbaugh.
We'll just ignore all those and just be happy with the fact that Michigan's had a renaissance the last couple of years and actually beat Ohio State for a couple of years running, which
they have. Honestly, Michigan, yeah. Fucking
110,000. 110,000.
Oh, it's incredible. Ohio State the same. Like some of the stadiums are old as fuck, but the money. I mean, my pal, his daughter wants to go to Michigan. He'd be heartbroken because he's a Buckeye. So but it wouldn't stop them letting her go to a great university. So it's the whole college football thing's mad. But good question. There's so much you can learn from different sports in so many ways, on the pitch, off the pitch.
I just feel like there's a whole skepticism in English football about the entertainment side. Like, I'm here to watch a game of football, in the rain and be cold, rather than embracing all the.
We tried to do fan zones. We're still trying to do them. And you pick up things. We pick things up off Cambridge United. We pick things up off other clubs. You learn as you go around the houses. Even Accrington Stanley. My staff went there last year, and we're like, they've done some great things. Andy's done some good things with the facilities. Like, so you're always learning. My dream's always been to have a massive sports bar. With 100 TVs in it and even if it wasn't in Peterborough, somewhere else, I'd love to own a sports bar. Yeah. I've always wanted one. Do you know what I mean? So there's so many things you can learn. And I just think that when you're stuck in your ways and you can't do this and you can't do that, and that's just not tradition, you have to get over that bullshit. You know what I mean? It's time moves on.
Well, there's an interesting question from Simon Gibson. Simon says, with all the managers that have been sacked recently, should there be something like you can only sack your manager in the transfer window?
No.
Can't sack them outside the transfer window.
Do you think multi-billion-dollar companies around the world, if they had a CEO, for example, Disney, if they had like a CEO that, they want to sack, they can't sack them as a transfer window. You can't operate like that. I get players have transfer windows and everything else, but like these are people who run the business. It's like, that I get the idea behind it, but no, that's a bad idea because you could end up with a manager who's just absolutely fucking out of his depth, has lost his mind, and your club could end up out of business. Why? Because you got 4 months before you can sack them. This makes no sense whatsoever. It's not a sane idea.
All right, last one for this week, and then we can call it quits. So Andrew Brett says, Posh fan here. I went to Northampton Saints rugby game on Saturday, and straight after the game, their women's team played, and those that watched the men's team were able to stay and watch for free. It just struck me as a great way to give a bigger crowd for the women to help build their fan base. And I was just interested in your thoughts on whether this could work, specifically for Posh women, but just in the EFL generally.
Sure, absolutely. I said it before that I actively want the Posh women to grow, hence why we got them away from the training ground to their own place. We'll give them a game or two at the stadium. I've always said to them, forget female, male, I treat things like a business. And I've said to the GM of the female team, as long as you break even when we give you the stadium, it's fine. If you lose money, you don't get the stadium, you don't get to use the pitch. At the end of the day, you have to pay your way. That's the world I live in. And that's why we invested a bit more in the women this year to get them promoted, and the higher up the leagues they go. But would it be great to see them play 6, 7, 8 times a year at our place? Even like that idea there, I'm not against it. As long as they pay their way and they bring in the money and slowly grow on it. Do you know what I mean? So, I think they're doing great things, the girls, on that side of things. And I think they've got a great future. So I'm optimistically very, very, excited about what they can do over the next 3 years. There is opportunity there.
How much does it cost to basically put on a football game at London Road? It doesn't have to be specifics, but just general rule of thumb, like, it being open, you got the stewards, you got sometimes police. What goes into
anywhere from 20 to 30 grand.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, it's the security, the everything, the energy, You know, floodlight, everything. It's like anywhere from that figure. It could be more. So again, you know, and it's also the pitch, the use of the pitch. So if we're going to have another team playing on the pitch, we have to then hire more staff and spend more money on the pitch. So everything's equatable. So they have to bring in the moolah. So the girls are suddenly in a league where they're bringing in certain revenue and money, and that can go towards everything overall. Then I'm all for, yeah, absolutely. Let's do a few things, you know what I mean, and invest and do what we have to do. But it has to be slowly. You know, we're as a club, like everyone knows, you know, I've got a lot of work on, you know, to bring down our debt and do all the things we need to improve on. So I don't have the luxury of having a lot of spare money to invest, you know, X amount more in the girl. I've done a little bit, but I haven't got as much as maybe they'd like.
Now, if you were the head of the Women's FA and you suddenly had a windfall from a TV company in terms of your next broadcast deal, where would you put that money? Would you put it in the bigger clubs to get bigger, to get more profile for the game that then trickles down? Or would you go grassroots and build from kind of the bottom and build upwards that may not get the publicity to then grow?
It's a great question. I'd put it into the professional game. I'd put it into the coaching, the players, a little bit more money to pay the players, and the facilities. Because a lot of these, the females play, they don't train at great places. They don't play at great places. So I kind of spread it amongst all of that. That's what I do. You know, grassroots is great and all of that, but that's not going to grow the game now. And it's such a golden generation because of England's success the last couple of tournaments that you want to capitalize on that. And
you really want as many eyeballs.
Exactly. But for the right reasons, not, you know, because they deserve it, not because, they're females. It's got to be for the right reasons.
But to grow the game, you need to get as many people engaged in the game as possible.
Absolutely.
So that more money then follows, so then you can invest in grassroots things.
Correct. And that's how you do it. So you know, they're making strides. It's not as quick as they'd like, and it's not as quick as it should be, but I think they're making strides, you know, and that's across the world, you know what I mean, the female game.
All right. Well, you kept me awake for the last hour. Hopefully we kept everybody listening awake.
Good news.
So thanks as always, and keep those questions coming in. Contact at hardtruthfootball.com or across any of our social media accounts as well. You can just DM, pop stuff in the comments. We capture them all, and
we'll be back in a couple of weeks because obviously we travel next week. I'm not sure I'll be able to do the time zone or whatever else. Yeah, exactly. So it'll be probably like, you know, the week after next. So all the best. Thanks for listening.
All right. Talk to you all soon.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, everyone.